Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. We've got a couple of low-cost 8bitdo controllers to check out today. This is their new Ultimate 2C controller. This is an update from the Ultimate C that we looked at last year. These are the wireless variants, and I've got the PC version here along with the Switch version. And there's a lot to like on these, and there's a couple of things not to like, which we'll cover in this video. Now, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that these came in free of charge from 8bitdo. However, they did not review or approve what you're about to see before it was uploaded. No other compensation was received, and all opinions are my own. So let's get into it now and see what these new controllers are all about. Now, the price point on these start as low as $19 for the wired version. These wireless ones right now are selling between $25 and $29. What's fun about these controllers is that they are the budget offering, but they don't feel budget in the hand. They're very well balanced. The plastic feels nice and sturdy here. One improvement that they've made with the 2C controllers is that it's now using Hall effect sticks on both the Switch and the PC version. The PC version also has analog triggers that are Hall effect as well. And what Hall effect sensors are magnetic sensors that are much more reliable, especially over time, versus the ALP sensors that these low-cost controllers used to have. So these won't be subject to drift over time. They should hold up pretty well. They also shored up the control stick area with some metal plating to prevent it from falling apart from heavy-duty gameplay. So I think these are going to last a little bit longer, perhaps, than some of their prior budget offerings. Now, the Switch version here also has Hall effect sticks, but the Switch controllers don't have analog triggers. So this is just a digital trigger, and as you can see, the travel on the trigger isn't very deep there, although it is slightly deeper on the PC version. Some of the other 8bitdo controllers do have a deeper travel, so just keep that in mind. These also have a faster polling rate, so these will now poll at 1000 hertz, which means the latency on these is very minimal. Now, this matters more on the PC version, where you can really get very low lag controls on a fast display. The Switch one here isn't as important, just because the Nintendo Switch's USB and Bluetooth controllers do add some latency. Now, to test lag on these, what I do is shoot a display at 240 frames per second, and I push a button on the controller here to see how fast things get registered on screen. So on a gaming laptop with a 165 hertz display, the PC controller here registered a button push in about 7 frames, which is as fast as the fastest controllers I have ever tested. So that is a new industry trend that I'm seeing. More and more controllers are hitting that mark. And interestingly, there's no real performance hit when you're connecting wirelessly here with the PC controller. Now, the PC controller has two options for wireless connectivity. You have the dongle, of course, which is what I would recommend for the lowest latency, but you can also flick this switch on the back and put the controller into Bluetooth mode and connect without a dongle. That might introduce more latency, because every Bluetooth controller is a little different depending on the device that you're using. So for the best results wirelessly, I think the dongle is the way to go. And the best way to go, if you want the absolute certainty of low latency, is to connect with the cable directly. I should also add, from a compatibility standpoint, that this is more than just a PC controller. It will work with the Mister, with the Raspberry Pi, with Android and Linux devices. Pretty much anything that supports a Windows game controller should work well with this one. So let's take a look and see how these controllers control. We'll begin by looking at the sticks here. Now, unlike some of the other 8bitdo controllers, you can't customize the dead zones and other sensitivity features on these. They are locked in. But as you can see here, there's not much movement here required to start registering a stick movement with those Hall effect sensors. Additionally, on the PC version, your analog sticks are also a Hall effect sensor here, and you can see it doesn't take much to start registering that trigger pull. There is not a lot of depth to this, so these are a little on the more shallow side, but I think you can get a pretty precise trigger press here for games that require that. The buttons feel nice. They've got a nice springiness to them, and they bounce back very quickly there. And the D-pad is my only area of dissatisfaction on these. And 8bitdo's made a lot of improvements in their D-pads over the years. This one feels like a step backwards. On the surface, it feels nice. It rolls quite nicely, which might be good for fighting games and that sort of thing. But for retro games, it really falls short. I'm getting a lot of errant diagonals in games like Zelda here, where it's hard to keep my character walking in a straight line without accidentally hitting the diagonal. And the D-pad is the same on both of these controllers. I did test it to make sure it wasn't just a defective version. So that is a big knock against the controller, which is unfortunate because 8bitdo has made a lot of progress in that area, but we lost some of that progress with this version. Now the controller has two mappable buttons here at the top, and you can map a single button to one of these buttons or a combination of buttons to it. I'll start with a simple example here. I'll hold down the A button, I'll push the button here that I want to map to, and then push stop. And now that I have that, I can jump over to my demo here, and when I push this button, you can see the A button here is triggered, even though I'm only pushing this button. But I could also go a step further here. I could map X and A together, for example. We'll just repeat that process with those two buttons held down. And now when we jump back and I push the button again, you can see it's pushing both of those buttons together at the same time. You can even map the D-pad to the other button here. So for example, I have mapped the diagonal movement to the right side here. And it's very easy to reprogram this button whenever you want. You don't have profiles or software controls like you have on the other 8bitdo controllers, but it's very quick and easy to get something programmed here. You can also program turbo functions on most of the buttons as well. Now the directional pad issues notwithstanding, I did find modern games that make use of analog sticks here to work very nicely. Everything feels more premium than the price point suggests here. One of the things that I like about Hall Effect sticks is that they just feel smoother and more accurate than your traditional Alp sticks, and that feeling on this budget controller is the same as it is on some of the more expensive ones. So it feels really nice here playing a modern PC game. On the Switch, I found it also worked quite well. And some of the motion controls here, as you can see, also work on the Switch controller. So you don't lose those controls if you have any games that make use of them. One thing to note is that while these controllers have rumble motors on and they feel decent, it doesn't have the HD motor that some of the Nintendo Switch controllers have that give you more fine rumble. But regular rumble that you'd have on a PC game like this will feel pretty much as nice as some of the other more expensive controllers you might be playing with. So all in, a good gameplay experience minus the D-pad that we mentioned earlier. So all in, if you're in need of a bunch of controllers for some couch co-op gaming, or you just got a bunch of kids in the house, these are nice. They won't break the bank, and there's not a lot of compromise here, at least for modern games, for the price point. Again, I'm not going to recommend these for retro gaming. Unfortunately, that D-pad just doesn't cut it for me, and that's usually a strength of 8bitdo. But modern games are fine with these, and if you don't need anything fancy for a controller, I think you'll be very pleased with what you get for the price. That will do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.